Hey there, YouTubers. Me again. Today we are going to try to save a fairly rare 1968 440 block and crank, because the cranks in the 68s are all going to be forged cranks, which is the good stuff. This block came out of a GTX, so it's a fairly rare block, but in 1968, just for a little FYI, 1968, the VIN number did not match the block. So as long as you had a date-coded engine block, you were good in 1968 or earlier. Once you get to 69, they started matching the VIN to the engine. So in 69, you would need an actual VIN-coded block, a 69 and newer, okay? But 1968, as long as the date code was good, you were good. So if you have a 68 car, then, and it is very possible that if you bought a 69, you might get some leftover 68 blocks. Experts will argue this up and down, but I've seen it happen, and not just Mopar. On my daughter's Corvette, she had an early 06, was it? I think an early 06 or 08, no, early 08, whatever. Anyway, it was the first few of that run, and it actually had the LS2 engine in it, and it was supposed to have an LS3, and it had never had a new engine. So it can happen, okay? So I hear a lot of guys go to shows like, I've owned this car since it was new, I've never changed the engine. You probably remember that, right? So it is possible, but 1968 didn't really matter. As long as you had a 1968 block, you were good. It is possible if you have an early 68, it's possible that you got a 67 block. Okay, but it'd be like November, December 67, something like that. But anyway, this is a 68, and we're going to try to save on it. It's in good shape. Now, I do want to point something out. Right here, I sold a block to a guy recently, and I'm not sure this is what happened, but I think this is what happened. He called me up and said that the engine is broken right here over the camshaft. He says, it's busted out. The window's busted out. Okay, it's probably not. And I tried to explain it, but he wasn't irate or anything. He was fine with it. But I told him I'd get him another block just in case. But I think what he's looking at is this, and let me show you. Is this little window right here. And if you look close, it does look broken, doesn't it? Look at all those little rigid looking knit lines from the casting, the sand cast. But they make blocks out of sand, believe it or not. They fill them with sand, they make the block, and then they bust all the sand out of it. So this looks like it might be broken, right? It's not. This is how they come. So just so anybody else gets a block, and you see that, and think, oh, the window is broken, you'll see it looks pretty smooth up in here. It's just going to be a little bit rigid and sharp in areas. You can smooth that out if you want to, if you just want to make oil flow a little better. But that's what that's for, so oil can come up and oil your cam chain. Okay, you got a pipe plug here too, but this is kind of so oil will, I don't know, return or drip, or I'm not really sure why, but that's to keep your cam chain oiled. Okay, so don't freak out if you look at this window and go, oh no, the window's busted on my block. It's not, okay? For a little bit of insight to this block, the gentleman I get this from is a good friend of mine. I've been trading with him for years and years and years. But to him, nothing is junk, okay? He will take, and as you can see, there's some stuff in this block. And this block is far from junk. But I have bought some stuff from him that he's like, oh yeah, it's not bad. And in my opinion, it's pretty bad. Yes, you could fix it, but it's pretty bad. And most of the people that buy from me want something that's not scary, you know what I mean? So this particular block, because of its rareness, and it is actually in pretty good shape, at least as far as I can tell so far. We'll find out as we start to get rid of it. But it's pretty sludgy, got a bunch of dirt and junk in it. But it's been sitting around, you know, he's had it stored in vans or sheds, or just one of those old time people that his grandfather used to own a junkyard. And I'm guessing these bolts are probably gonna break. I'm gonna guess they're gonna snap. Maybe these might come out okay. I'm going to guess these two are going to snap. That one looks like it's already snapped, or it's missing one or the other. As long as the lifters come out okay and the pistons come out okay, I'm probably going to have to wire brush. I got some oil soaking in there. I'm going to wire brush the tops of these because that makes the pistons slide out a little easier. Okay, and once he gets this, he will have to take this to a machine shop and have it tanked and clean out all these galleys. You want to pop out all of your freeze plugs because there's going to be, I don't know why, but Mopars especially, because maybe narrow water ports or whatever, I have had people call me up and go, my engine keeps overheating, my engine keeps overheating. And I found this with my AMC as well. They tend to, back in here, they tend to sludge up and get a bunch of crud just built up between these freeze plugs. And you have got to pop these freeze plugs, and you got to literally, you won't flush it out. You've got to sit there and chip away at that junk. In fact, there's a video on my AMC, on the Gremlin, of when I was putting an AMC engine in it, the first engine I was putting in it. And that, you'll see all of the sludge and all of the stuff I had to chip away on the back end of that engine. It's just something, I've never really seen it with a Chevy engine for some reason. And I'm not sure about Ford because I don't really, sorry, I didn't mean to say the F word on YouTube, but I don't really work on them very often, almost never. Except for when I owned my own repair shop. That was like my #1 customers, and that's why I don't work on them now. But anyway, the Mopars and the AMCs for some reason were real notorious for sludging up back here, and the water won't flow, so it stops here and just goes back out. And they will get hot back here and your engine will overheat. And people blame the head gaskets and they check them and they go, oh no, they look fine, I don't get it. And it's because it's all clogged up. Ah, yeah. All right, enough of that. Let's start. I probably should soak this down. I did soak the lifters and the pistons a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and hit these right here, although I kind of know, you know, they say penetrating oil penetrates. Nah, I don't think it does. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. You can spray them all day long. Heat sometimes works. I'm a real fan of Sleeper Dude. If you've never watched him, I recommend you do. Nice guy. Has his whole family involved in fixing cars. And that's a freebie, Josh. That's a freebie. And he's a big believer in heat. And so I've kind of adopted using heat like he does. And it seems to work. So I might just heat these two up. I might risk these. I'm going to heat these two up, I think, before I try to get them out and see if I can't make it happen. Now, if they break, you just put a nut over it, weld the nut to the broken stud, and then you got heat already because of the welding. And that's why that works so well. So anyway, enough yapping. Let's get started. Before I get started, I think I'm going to start with the important stuff. We'll do the lifters and the pistons, and we'll let these eat for a while. And then hopefully maybe they'll come up. Banging works too. Sometimes if you just bang on stuff to loosen it up, breaks it loose, that works too. That's why impacts work so well. They go, bah! So you can actually sit there and bang on this with a hammer lightly. And I would use a brass hammer so you don't booger stuff up. And sometimes that will jar it loose as well. So enough know-how on the stuck nuts and bolts. Let's start with the lifters and get this thing taken apart. I'm going to use vice grips, I think. I have a tool for taking these out, but I'm going to go ahead and use vice grips this time just because they're all sticking up and I just think it'll be easier. I could be wrong. You can whisper, they can still hear you. They can still hear you. Huh?
Can I mow the grass in the back?
Didn't you just mow yesterday?
No.
Oh, these are in there.
I weed whack. Okay, I'm mowing the front then. I'm mowing the front.
Okay, these are what I call ST-UCK, stuck. Very strange looking. And for some reason they don't want to spin or anything, so I'm going to do the next best thing. And I'm going to get a hammer. These lifters are ST-UCK, stuck. Really bad. So there's no cam in here. They've all been pulled upward and somebody pulled the cam out of it. So we're just going to see if we can't get them to move. There we go. That one's moving. If I can get them to move, then we can bang them out from the other side. Oh yeah, they're gone. So we'll get them to go this way. There we go. Wow, that one was stubborn, but it went. I might move over here.
So it's fine if
You'll notice I'm using brass because you don't want to chip these, because if you chip them, then they could gouge the bore, and we don't want to do that. And I should, keyword being should, be wearing safety glasses. Whew, hands getting tired. All right, got two more. Yeah, that one moved no problem. Yep. And that one went too. Felt this tickle in my hand. No blood though. Woohoo! Okay, so they all moved. So once we get the crank out and we flip this over, we'll be able to pop them out from the other side. But I'm not gonna do that right now. I was gonna try to wiggle them out with a pair of vice grips, but that didn't work. I love a brass hammer, you know? It won't damage the steel, but yet it's powerful. Gotta love brass. Well, I'm not gonna lie, that's ugly. This has been sitting on the ground where moisture can get to it. And these caps, I mean, this is just, she's been neglected. But again, rare block, year specific for like you got a Roadrunner or a Charger. Now 68 is not the golden year, 69 and 70 is. But if you're building a 68, it's only a hair less valuable than the golden grail 69s and 70s. 69 being the #1 golden grail thanks to Dukes of Hazzard and Fast and Furious and 2-lane blacktop and what's the other one that had the Charger? There's a few. So go ahead and throw it in the comments if you remember that Charger. And it's almost, it's the same Charger in a lot of them. For my era, it was Dukes of Hazzard. This, I'm not gonna stretch the truth even a little. This is horrible. I forgot I was supposed to clean up the bores a little bit so that I can drive the pistons out. So I guess I'm gonna have to flip this back up. But in the meantime, I'm gonna spray down these rods and see if I can't. Well, these are off, so that's good. This one's not off yet. And if you've ever tried to get rods off of an engine that you can't move the engine, it's a humdinger. Some of them are already off, so that's a good thing. I do want to save this crank because it is a steel crank, and they are like $1,000 if you try to buy one that's already done and ready to go. So if I can save this one, you get it turned for a few $100s, and you've got yourself a mighty good crank for very limited money. And you can if you, well actually, yeah, if the way to tell, and I've got a video out on this, the way you can tell it is a steel crank, a forged crank, as opposed to a cast crank, is see this big wide, let me bring you in there a little closer. You see this big wide line, call it a knit line, but this big wide knit line is what tells you that it's a forged steel crank. If it was just a skinny little line, then it would be a cast crank, because when they cast it, it makes what they call a knit line. But when it's forged, this is actually cut out of a piece of steel, and that is where they have to mill it so it works. So you look for that fat line there. That'll tell you it's a forged steel. If it's got a skinny, just little, just as a line, a thinny line, yeah, that will tell you that it's a cast crank. So this is a steel forged crank. I thought this was worth pointing out, is there's an order. You have to put these back in order, and they're numbered from 1 through 5. So if you look, that's the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and that looks like the Fantastic 4 on that one. And then, of course, last but not least, 5. Now, strangely enough, just for kicks and giggles, I know I rushed through it, this is probably still usable, because your seal ride's up here, the oil pan's going to go here, but there's a huge gasket, and you might want to just smooth that out. I don't know that I would risk this one, but we really didn't damage it that bad doing what we did trying to get those out. Those were really, really, really stuck, and we did minimal damage. You could just get it on a belt sander, smooth that out, and this would probably be fine. But only if you had to. If you can buy another one, I don't know that you can buy these anymore, so I would resurface it and reuse it. If I was doing a customer's car, I probably would not do that because I don't want it coming back. But if it was my car, I'd probably go ahead and risk it. Normally I would use wood, but I found some splinters of wood in there, so somebody has already tried that. I am going to use this piece of pipe if I can get it down in there, and I cannot. I can if... The biggest thing is we don't want to damage anything if we can avoid it. So we're going to just do our best to avoid hitting anything of value like the crank or the block. The rods are probably junk, so we don't care. Wow! I need to get down on the piston is what I need to do. That one's moving a little bit. I want to make sure I'm on the piston and not anything else. I may have to resort to a different tool. Now that one I can get at no problem. Problem is she's still bolted. This one, I can get to the piston pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and start smashing, I think. Yep. And I'm not touching the crank at all. So let's just hit this one as best we can. Oh, it moved. Woohoo! See that? Or I just broke the piston. Yeah, I probably broke the piston. We're going to keep trying. Worst comes to worst, we'll smash the pistons. That's always an option, which I did. I've broken this piston already. But I do not want to hit the cylinder wall. I have saved some pretty stuck engines, and this is going to be right up there with one of the best, or worst, however you want to look at it. I'm trying to save the crank at the same time. That's going to be... The crank's worth more than the block. So... Ooh, that was a solid hit. Oh my goodness, I cracked my pipe. That's how hard I hit that. Golly. Okay. The last one of these I did, I ended up hitting the pistons the wrong way the first time, just to get them to move. Because I can hit directly on the piston. Because obviously this pipe's not going to handle any more abuse. The problem with hitting directly on the piston is if I miss, I'm going to booger the block. And I did destroy a 383 block once. The rods are moving, so let me see, because I want to save this crank at all costs. Like I said, they're worth, a new one's over $1,000 or right around $1,000. So it's a crapshoot whether the block is worth more than so I'm going to try to get, I think I can get most of these, if not all of these rods out, and then I'm going to try to just pull the crank. I'll just pry the crank out of it first, and then we'll get that out of the way and we can concentrate on the pistons. They are really, really in it. But then I can also hammer directly on the rod and or the piston, which should be good too. So I think I can get to all the rod bolts. That one's going to be a little tough. That one's going to be really tough. But we may be able to rotate the crank enough to get those out of there. So let's see what we can do. Yeah. Huh?
Oh, never mind.
So I'm gonna have to knock the stud. Try to turn the crank. Now there's nothing holding the crank at this point. So we should be able to turn it. In theory. I heard a rumor that acetone will help loosen up an engine. So I put some acetone in this engine on the pistons. And I also added a little diesel fuel to see if that will help as well. Supposedly the acetone will dissolve the rust. I don't know how true it is. I just kind of learned that on watching YouTube. So I'm going to give it a shot. Of course, I can only do 4 cylinders at a time, so I'm going to let these sit overnight. Then tomorrow I will flip it over and do the other side. See if this has creeped anywhere, gone anywhere. Once you get them to move, they will keep moving. I've got the crank loose, but because the rods are all stuck pretty hard, I am having a hard time getting the crank past the rods. But hopefully, if this loosens the pistons up, I'll be able to move things enough to get the crank out of it. And we'll go from there. So it's going to be a couple of days. We'll let this sit for overnight, and then I'll do the other side, let it sit overnight. I don't know. You know, if I left it at an angle, I don't know if this one I'd be able to get the full circumference. Because I could let all of them sit. I could try that. I kind of want to let it sit where I know I'm getting the whole circumference of the piston. We'll see. We'll see. Supposedly acetone dissolves rust. I don't know. I could get that CLR stuff. That's supposed to dissolve rust. I have stuff that converts rust, but we don't want to convert rust into a hard metal on this project. But she is a bugger. I did a couple of videos on really stuck engines. One was a 400, and I managed to save that one, but I don't think I saved the crank. So far, the crank is still good on this one. We've not damaged the crank at all, and I'd like to keep it that way. So I guess this will be the end of today. So by the time you see this engine again, it will at least be tomorrow. Sorry about the background noise. It's a fan trying to keep me from dying of heat. I've got a brass drift holding the front of this crank up right now. It's starting to move. I've moved this crowbar, and I have wedged 2 chisels. I wish I had more brass, but I've got chisels, so I'm going to go easy because I definitely don't want to score this up. But she's starting to move, so I'm going to get in here. I'm going to keep on gently prying. And it's coming. There goes my little brass drift. Cranks need to go up kind of straight. They're not really designed to go cockeyed. So I'm getting a bigger piece of brass, which that's not even big enough, honestly, but we're going to wedge it in there gently. Oh, too far. Ooh. Okay, well that's in there. Okay. See if I can get this in the corners. No. Oh yeah, get it in this corner. Okay, so we're gonna put that piece of brass in there. And try to, yeah, there we go, okay. I'm gonna come back over here. Make sure we're not catching here, we're not. Maybe lift some more here, oh yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Come on baby. We're kind of out. Just don't know if I'm going to be able to. Yeah, there's not anything here. Let me see if I can lift this crank out of here. Oop, she's moving. Turn it so that I don't have to lift it so far. Alright. I don't know where that other brass drift went. It's in there somewhere. Let's see if we can lift this bad boy out of here. Ah, she's catching on this rod. See if we can turn it away from that rod. Nope. Catching on this rod bearing right here, this rod. Let's see if I can get it to clear it. Nope, that one's gonna be a problem. So I have two choices. Let me get my eyeballs in there. See what's going on. I've turned it so that I've got play, because it was catching on here. I don't know, because of the way this rod is, yeah, it's gonna be, if I could straighten it out a little bit. Or get, oh, hey, woo, there we go, hee-haw, that worked. Okay, yay. Now let's see if we can get this thing out of here. There we go, woohoo! Well, we managed to do that. Managed to save the crank. So, now, which of the sides, I think it was that side we've been soaking. Let's get a piece of pipe. Now, we can actually just beat the heck out of these rods. Oh, they don't want to move, do they? We're going to beat on the rods. We don't care. So we're going to try it with the brass hammer. We don't care if we damage these rods, they're shot anyway. Most of them, because we've lost the caps to a lot of them. I'm going to try just hitting them with the brass hammer. I'm going to get a bigger brass hammer. You know, if your brass ain't big enough, are they moving? That's the question. My guess is going to say no. They are not moving. Get the rod bolt out of the way. Those things. This is what I'm thinking. And I know that's dangerous. I've soaked the top of that set of pistons. I think it was that set. Let me look. Yeah. And it really, what was it? Wait a minute. I can't tell. I think it was that set. That's how good that's how much good it did, right? But I think if I was to fill this section, this side, because the pistons are designed to let oil through on this side. The only one that wouldn't be any good is this one, because it's already down as far as it'll go. So I can't get any oil to soak it. That one and this one. So those, unfortunately, I'm going to have to manhandle. But The rest of them I could probably soak. We'll try a little transmission fluid, diesel oil, and acetone to see if we can't get these to loosen up. But first, we're going to try a big hammer. And we're going to make sure we wear safety glasses because we're going to about to use a big hammer. I'm going to try pecking on the rod first. I'm going to do the one that's way up high first, just because. This is the one I think we had soaking. Not that it did any good. None of it got by the rings. So we're going to just try it a few times. Like hitting steel wall. That ain't a budget. So, do I want to soak it, or do I want to flip it? Try beating on. It's dangerous no matter what. I beat on this side on a 383 one time, and I missed, and I caught the main and broke it, or caught the corner of the block or something, and I ended up making the block into junk. We saved the crank. That's a very expensive piece. Like I said, turned steel crank could be worth upwards of $1,000. So, you know, one in that condition that needs to be turned is fairly worth some fairly decent money. This block, however, is also a rare block because it's a 68. And if you're trying to build a numbers matching car, this is important. So I'd like to save this as well. And I can if I get these pistons out. So now I can get to the lifters, but I don't really see much point in. This is what I use to get the lifter out. It's a piece of brass. There's not much point in pecking at those if I can't get the pistons out. So I think I'm going to flip it the other way, see if I can at least get them to move the other way, because I'm going to hit directly on the piston. It may shatter the piston, but that's fine. Then if that doesn't work, I'm going to try soaking them from this side, which is not going to work on this one and this one. So I don't really know what I'm going to do there. Let me see. It's funny I can't see in here at all. It's the way the lighting is in here today. Got some mud daubers that might be, you know, not happy about moving. But yeah, see, that one's almost pretty much at the bottom. So we may be able to get that one to move that way if I get a piece of pipe in there. I'm also working off of the stand, which is absorbing some of the impact. So worst comes to worst, I may have to set this on the ground. That's how I did the last one. It was actually on the ground. But unfortunately, with my leg the way it is, I cannot work on the ground. So we're going to beat on a few of them from the top side and hope to God I don't hit the block. See if I get any of them to move. If not, we'll go back to soaking this thing. And this video will have to wait. You know, it might become a saving the crank video instead of a, pardon me, instead of a saving the block and crank video. Still gonna try to save this block. Just don't know which way to go just yet. I've already started. The pistons will smash, so maybe we can just bash the pistons out of it. So let's flip it over and try that. Violence. Violence is gonna be the answer, I think, on this particular. What do we call this? We call this, what do we call this? Saving? Private Ryan? Saving valuable engine parts? What do we call a video like this? They call them resurrections, I think, if you get the car running. We just call this a, what do we call it? What's getting, it all of a sudden got real light on the, or real heavy, I should say. It's top heavy now. The crank's out of it. There we go. Well, we kind of wanted to keep it straight up and down, though, didn't we? That's not easy now. So let's do this. Ready? Got the pin ready. Woo. Gotta eat my Wheaties today. Now I did use, last time I did use a piece of very large pipe. And I have saved that pipe. And that will keep me from damaging this. So let's try this with my stubby sledge. And if I have to put it on the ground, we may have to do it with the big sledge. Because I think this stand may absorb too much of the impact. But we'll see. It almost feels like it's moving. Then again, I could be imagining things. Do I dare? Oh my gosh. That thing is in there. And these are the ones I soaked. Wow. Alright. It does feel like it's moving. Ooh, I think it is. Ooh, let's get some light on the subject. Well, there was some on here. What happened? My light bulb blow out? Well, I'll be dipped in horse pucky. My light died. Oh, there it is. Bad connection. I think it moved. Son of a gun, it moved! So let's see if we can get her to go a little further. Maybe once we get her moving, she'll go the other way. She's still not moving very easy. But it did move. Woo! Oh, it's moving. It's definitely moving. This says to me that if I can get that to move, this one's not going to move very far. That way we should be able to definitely get it to move the other way, where I've sanded and... Okay. Alright. Let's try these two. Like this one, I don't know what to do. I guess I could try it.
Bye, Dad. Love you.
I love you. Well, it moved, but my hammer broke. I don't understand. That handle can't be more than 20, 25 years old. You just can't get good stuff anymore. It's just get it. It's probably due. I just fixed its grandfather. This is a 8-pounder. Got a 12-pounder. But it's still got the long handle on it, and I just fixed it for doing the same thing. That one almost hit me in the head because I was up like this when it broke. But if they're moving, they're moving. So I'm just gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna, I know you probably want to watch because you can get all, watch all the carnage, right? If I was like this, that would have been ugly. I did have a friend that happened to trying to break the bead on a semi-tire, and he was holding that hammer way up over his head, and that head came off and landed right on the top of his head. If that had been me, I'd have been sleeping. This guy looked at me and went, "That hurt." I said, "What?" Yeah, some people got hard heads, I guess. But I guess this hammer is junk. I'll find another handle. I think you can buy hickory handles and fix this. But in the meantime, let me get a bigger hammer. I had cut the rods so that I could slide that piece of pipe over them and then get that big piece of pipe on top of the pistons. I may have to resort to that. While you weren't looking, I did try to use a solid, it's an old transmission shaft, and it blew right through the top of the piston. So that didn't work. So I'm just gonna try to hit that rod. I got this big kahuna of a hammer now. I've got this big monstrous 12-pounder. And I'm just gonna lightly tap. Gotta be careful. And I don't think it's moving. I don't think it's moving at all. I was getting good results with smacking them from the top. I may have to go back to that. It really would work well if I could. I was about to cut the rods to get the crank out of it, so I still may go ahead and cut them so I can do the, because smacking it with that big pipe was working. So that's definitely not. I'm just not getting a big enough, solid enough bite. I can't believe I got these to move backwards at all, because it's really hideous in here on the back side. I don't know if you can probably see that or not, but I'll show you just how bad that is. If I can figure out how to get my GoPro out of here. There we go. Alright. It's really, really, really bad in there. Really, 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 really bad. got a smaller piece of pipe, one that fits down in there. Can't forget my safety glasses in case pieces of shrapnel decide to fly. And we got my 12-pound sledgehammer. And we are gonna give this piston is all the way down in the bore. And when I say all the way down, I mean all the way down. The bearings, this is the thrust bearing is here, and I left the thrust bearing in there because that will keep this from damaging the block itself. Hopefully. Enough pressure I could probably break this web. But I can't imagine that I can deliver more pressure here than this piston endures when an explosion happens inside it. So I would imagine this block has got to be able to handle, and then you drop the clutch at, 4,000, 5,000 RPM. I cannot imagine me putting more pressure here than that. So I guess we'll find out, right? Either I'm going to save this block or I'm going to have a boat anchor. I guess no sense waiting. There's no time like now. So let's see what we can do. See how much damage we can do. Ooh, I think I felt it move. Maybe. That was really solid. Wow. Solid bar. Now this piston I tried to punch out and it busted. Top out of it. So now I'm aiming at the wrist pin, using what's left of my sledge. It appears to be moving. come to the conclusion that hammers are not made to be hit the side of. Probably why I broke them both. But this is working. And I like my fingers, so I'm still hitting with the side of the hammer. It's a going though. I'm afraid I'm gonna get hung up on the rod. The rod is not in the ideal spot. These rods do not move very easily. So we gotta get in here and try on it. One thing that could destroy this block at any moment. I'm doing them all. There's one. One. if it works, is it really a bad idea? I smashed all the tops out of the pistons by running this bar onto the top of the piston and then just hammering the top of the piston. The top of the piston let go. But when I did that to this other one over here, I was able to get it out. So this is the one I was hammering on for quite some time. Couldn't get it to budge. And I busted the top of the piston out, which takes a lot of the integrity out of the piston itself. And now it's starting to move. So the bar is, I'm going to do them all because of the rod, rather than having to cut the rod on them. But I was able to get this pipe back in here. And just more beating. I did get my pinky caught between the sledge and the block when that bar went through. And it gave me a little bit of a owie. So if you decide to do this, be careful. A pinky is a small price to pay. If I can get to save this block, I'm not sure what a pinky is worth. It's still there. It's just hurt. But I'm going to try to. This one's starting to move now, so we're just going to hammer on it some more. Yeehaw! Can I get a yeehaw out there? Well, there's the secret. Now this one worked out nice because I cut the rod, was able to get that pipe on there. But once you bust this out of there, the walls don't really have any strength. So I'm really only fighting this little bit of area here. Look at that. Look at that. But so far, knock on wood, I'm saving the block. But one slip of this hammer, and this block will be toast. Can't use the pipe anymore, which I'd really, really like to. I can't get my grinder down in there unless I want to cut it with a torch, but that's dangerous too. So I'm going to try the pipe, but the pipe is twice as dangerous now because the tops of the pistons are gone. So if the pipe slips at all off of what I'm hitting with it, yes, where I'm looking for. My pinky is in danger once again. And I'll be honest with you, I'm getting tired. This hammer's not light. Oh yeah. I can feel them moving. You can hear it too. Notice I'm hitting it a little softer now because I don't want to lose another pinky. There we go. It may have won a couple of battles, but the war is going to be won, I hope. We got 3 out of 4, and we just got the other side to do. I don't know if the other side is going to be harder or easier. I guess we're going to find out. Well, I'm not going to need a workout today, that's for sure. I'm definitely getting one right now. Well, we did it. Or I did it. We did it. You watched. Saved the crank. Saved the block. Can't say that the rods and pistons are much good. Don't care. They're not worth much. They were stock. Rods worth a little bit, but not enough to cry about. And they were mismatched and messed up before I ever got it. So, steel cranks, forged cranks are very, very expensive. And date correct blocks are also very expensive. So well worth the effort. It did cost me 2 hammers, well at least 2 hammer handles, and I think I may have broke my pinky. But, yeah, small price to pay for being able to save this rare 1968 Mopar 440 block and crank. So I hope you enjoyed watching this more than I enjoyed doing it, because I'm going to let you know my arm and shoulders a little tired. I am. And as you can see, I have a mess that I gotta clean up now. But I can go to sleep tonight knowing that I saved this. And I don't know, what did it take me? I'll have to look at the video. Of course, I skipped over a lot of stuff, and letting it soak didn't help at all, just to let you know. The side that I soaked didn't come apart any easier than the side that I didn't soak, so that was a waste of time and a waste of diesel fuel and acetone. But busting the tops of the pistons out, that was the secret. Breaking them out from behind, because pistons are designed to be pushed on from the top, not from the bottom. So they actually break out, I wouldn't say easy, but they broke out with with reasonable amount of difficulty. I guess would be the way. It wasn't easy. You had to wallop it pretty hard, and I was using a pretty darn big hammer, a 12-pounder. I don't know if breaking the handle helped me or not. It might have, just because swinging that big thing. But now I got to buy 2 handles. Great. Actually, I might be able to save the longer handle. It'll just be a little shorter. No, it's pretty splintered now that I think about it. Look at it. Well, probably what I'll do is I'll shorten it and make a handle for a short one, and then I'll buy a new one for the long one. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have a rare block that you need to save, don't be afraid to buy a block that looks really bad. You know. Oh, I guess we didn't do the lifters, but let's see if I can show you real quick. The lifters will pop right out. You just get a brass rod, and I got them to move earlier, so they'll pop right out. So I'm not too worried about them. But you cannot, well, I guess you can. You can pop them out either way. I guess you can pop them out from the top and or the bottom. So probably do it from the top would be easier. They don't seem to hit. Yeah, they'll come right out either way. So I'm going to spare you that, because I'm going to end the video. It's late. I'm tired. I'm happy that the block is good. The lifters are not going to make this block. It'd be very unlikely that I would chip the block with a brass drift trying to get the lifters out. Let's just put it that way. Especially because you can get inside the lifter. It's not going anywhere. So unless I really slip and really screw up, which if I could do all this without busting it, I'm probably not going to break it doing the lifters. But anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all. Every time you watch my videos, you can know that I'm grateful for you watching them. I hope they help you out if you're building cars or trying to save rare stuff. I hope you're enjoying the videos and maybe learning a little something. You know, learning 1 or 2 things. I watch YouTube, other people, and I learn stuff just about every day. The couple of the ones that I prefer to, I really enjoy watching, they'll come up with an idea that I'm like, hey, let me try that. And in fact, I just borrowed one from somebody, and he just putting heat on a brake fitting, and well, wouldn't you know it, it worked. And I didn't have to replace the line. So it's well worth listening to some of these guys. And so hopefully by watching this, it's helped you to be able to do something. If you've got a locked up engine you need to deal with, you're not going to be able, you might, but you're probably not. There's no way in God's green earth that this engine was ever going to unlock itself without beating it to death like we did. There's just no way. I could have soaked this thing until, you know, the next millennial, and unless they come up with some kind of a product that just, yeah, I don't know. This engine was never ever going to come apart without beating the crap out of it. So just to say, because I mean, there's no way. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed watching it. Appreciate y'all. Please subscribe, tell your friends, hype the video, and don't forget to read your Bible every day. See ya!